this first story, man, I love it. I feel like it's got just a little bit of everything. It's just like the perfect story to talk about. So, all right, I'll rephrase it again. I'll set it up again from the intro. So the League of Legends team, Vaevictus Esports, that plays in the Russian LCL, they were disbanded and they fired all of their original 5 players. And as a publicity stunt / test case, they filled the roster with an all-female team. And here's a direct quote from Vaevictus. It's time to experiment. We would like to check how competitive the women's team will be on the professional stage and how strong their progress will be. So like they're kind of saying like right there, like, you know, they're not trying to win. Like they want to see like what's going to happen with this test case. So this is like the main piece of this story. These girls were all diamond level players and the majority of them main support. So like when you compare these female players to like just the typical pros, I mean like they're way behind. They don't even have a full team. If like say 3 of them are normally on support, like they don't have like a full team of positions, which puts them at a huge disadvantage. And they're all diamond, which like is like a completely different world than like being in challenger or even master. So their first 3 games they played Rocks. They lost 12-1 in kills. Their second game, they lost to Vega Squadron 52-2. I heard that one was pretty close in the beginning, but it really got away from them. And then Dragon Army, the third game, they lost 20-1. Okay, so like just taking all that in, like this is where it gets really, really interesting because this is like where Riot Games kind of steps in here, and you see like a little bit of like trolling going on like from teams, and like maybe not even trolling, but just like a little bit of like some playful stuff. So in the first game where they lost to Rocks 12-1, Rocks used all 5 of their bans in the draft on support champions. So they banned Nami, Janna, Lulu, Thresh, and then Braum. Which like it does kind of make sense because like these girls like were playing a lot of supports. Mm-hmm. And after the first ban phase, they hadn't picked a support yet, so like, you know, they would ban out 2 more supports to like make it harder to get a competitive pick there. Just saying.
Right, and they could have picked a support before the second ban phase.
Yeah, I'm just getting it out. I'm just getting it out there. Yeah, right, exactly. If you watch the video on these 2 teams, I did look at it. It seemed like it was a really lighthearted and funny moment between the 2. Like the girls were laughing, the guys were laughing. Like everybody like seemed like they were having like a lot of fun with this. However, like I feel like many people and journalists like writing about this were saying that it was like kind of sexist and that like this ban phase wouldn't have happened against an all-male team. So Riot Games went on to give Rocks an official warning for the banning of the 5 supports, and if they did anything like that again, like there could be like real repercussions to the team. And then in their second game, when Vega Squadron beat them 52-2, Riot Games gave them an official warning, gave Vega Squadron this time an official warning for intentionally stretching the game out. So I'm just gonna say my overall point, and then I'm just gonna let you guys run wild with this. I've been talking enough on it. So Riot Games gave them, like this is supposed to be a competitive league, right? Like this is supposed to be like the most competitive esports league on the market. Like that's the brand that Riot has built. Mm-hmm. If they want it to stay that way, then they shouldn't give warnings out to teams for like, I mean, if they were trolling, whatever. If they're beating somebody 52-2, like that's too bad. Like then you need a better competitive landscape. Instead, like they need to be worried about the competitiveness of the teams and their overall product to the consumer. Like any team full of diamond players, male, female, whatever, aliens, I don't care who it is, they would have gotten crushed by everybody. And like I'm not even saying like that these diamond players are bad. Like I'm like silver 4. Like I stink. But I wouldn't be on the pro scene like getting embarrassed. But that's all I'm going to say. You guys go ahead with whatever you want to say. There's a lot of points.
I only have one thing that I want to say is like, how funny is it like biologically, like women are more keen on like nurturing and like being that support for I don't know, and then they all play support characters. I just like drew that up. You know what I mean? Like they all play support characters.
I play support. Are you saying I'm a woman?
Yeah, you're nurturing.
Yeah.
No, but isn't that funny though? Like
it is kind of funny.
If it was just 3 of them, I'd be like, I'd let it go. But like, I have to say something because it's every single one of them. It's a
it's incredibly insensitive, but it's funny, Ben.
It's not insensitive. It's the truth.
We'll let it slide this time, Ben.
It's the truth. Well,
I think
a Polygon podcast right now.
Riot Games just messaged me. You've got an official warning. One more of those, you're out.
Dolly.
I wasn't sure at first, but the LCL, the league that they're in, I mean, this is the top league in Russia. So like, I believe all regional leagues have like a challenger series where, they can, it's kind of like soccer in Europe, where you can kind of like work your way up into that higher league or get relegated down to the lower league. But
Yeah, it's like an open division.
right, but how could they expect, like you were saying, like anything else to happen? These people didn't earn their way into the league. They literally just picked them up and threw them on the team. Granted, I guess the team can do that if they really want to, but that Riot was going after other teams for bullying them, it just seems insane. It would have been fine if they just would have beat them, whatever, but I feel like it should have been the other way around, where Riot should have went to Vaevictus and been like, hey, like, get serious, or like, we're pulling your sponsorship. You're not allowed to buy back in.
Right.
Like, we're not having any of your logo sponsorship anywhere. Like, you're done for the season. Like, this is a joke. Like, why would you do this to the league? I get, like, just trying to like generate interest, like earn some money. Like, it's bad sportsmanship, honestly, and I feel bad for the girls. They kind of subjected them to this. They didn't deserve it.
Yeah. Now what I was thinking of was, now I can't remember it.
You're just thinking about those ladies.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
Like, for me, like, it's not about gender or anything. If you put people on a team that play at a level that isn't the highest level for that game, like, what do you expect? Like, what do you think's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, what do you fucking think's gonna happen? If you put the people that aren't in the highest level against people that are,
Yeah.
they're gonna get shit on. Just like if we got together and went on an NFL field and played an NFL team, we would get shit on.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with like the skill to play the game.
Right.
What was supposed to happen here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can't blame the other pro teams for shitting on them.
It's publicity.
They're pro teams. They're here to win. Like, you can't blame them for shitting on them.
Yeah,
that's
Go ahead, Ben.
That's what I was gonna say, Dave. Was I was gonna make a comparison to pro sports, and I forgot I was gonna do that.
I
But,
feel
like, you know what I mean? Like, what? It's like there's an NBA game. It's a championship, game, and there's just something happened where all the starting five players, and they're like, oh, well, why don't we bring some girls in? Like, let's see how they do. Let's bring the professional, or not even professional. Let's bring some high school basketball, girls high school basketball players, and let's see how they do against them. Let's see how this goes.
It's
And
like a perfect analogy.
Yep.
yeah, and the thing is, it's like it's Riot's fault. You know what I mean? Like, why did they let this happen? It's silly. It's stupid. Here's the thing that I wanted to say, that Mark Cuban, who's supposed to be like the super intelligent entrepreneur, like he predicts things and in free markets and stuff. He says that esports is like the next great, it's going to take over regular sport eventually, or professional sports. He thinks that's going to happen eventually, and like they do something like this, it's like it makes you look silly, and like there has to be a standard that you have to live up to, and that you have to uphold, and they didn't do it here.
Yeah, I
The
feel
exact
like
opposite.
Riot Games did a great job of addressing the secondary problem and not the primary problem. So great job, Riot. And I think that if this was supposed to be about gender empowerment or something, which I'm not even sure that it was. Like, I don't know what the heck this was from Vaevictus. Like, I don't know what they thought was going to happen. But if anything, like, all this did was set back like females in esports even further. If it did anything to the gender gap in esports, or whatever you want to call it, or like gender representation in esports, all it did was have a negative effect. Like this wasn't
I
good for
couldn't
those
agree more.
girls. This wasn't good for those girls. Like I'm sure they didn't feel great about losing 52-2. You know, like they didn't like go to bed happy that night, and like I don't think that like anybody's gonna be like trying something like this in the near future, just because it went so poorly.
Right, and like, well, they like we said before, it's like they didn't earn their way. It's not about gender; it's about if you're a good player, right?
Yes,
That's literally all it is.
Absolutely.
That's 100% what it is, and you don't just put people into a position to play at the highest level if they're not capable of it or haven't earned their way to be there. You play the best people regardless of skin color, gender, whatever. You don't just put people there to like be diverse. That makes no sense.
What the thing that I don't understand about this is like, why didn't they just like make up like a mock match against? Like, why did they have to do it in tournament? You know, like why didn't they just make up a mock match of like,
Right, and like you know, these
throw it on Twitch and make money that way? You know, like all women diamond players, and let's have them place or fight against a.
Right, and like you know, this team of girls, like they weren't doing the scrims, they weren't doing all the preparation that pro teams do. Like what did you expect to happen here? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Were they going to come in and like compete and perform? Like, is that? There's no way Vaevictus as an organization thought that was going to be the case. Like, they knew they were setting them up
Well, they are Russian.
to fail. I mean, there was just
Yeah, well, and plus
completely wrong.
with all 5 of them running to the bottom lane in all 3 games, kind of put them into an experience deficit early on. But,
They did that?
no, they didn't.
Everybody wanted to play Lux.
But yeah.